bring to order the Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Middleton Select Board here at Fuller Meadow School. Reminding everyone that we are, as usual, being recorded audibly and visually, and you can watch it live or you can come back and watch it at a later date. Our first item of business is to go into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A and 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares MIA claim for the middle school, an occurrence of the middle school. All right, and before I do that, Deb, do a roll call, I just wanted to say, and, you know, on behalf of the board, I hope, I didn't ask anybody, but the business of destruction of property with the political advertising signs that took place over the weekend, okay? I condemned it in social media that morning. It's embarrassing, all right? Those things cost people money to put up, and, you know, for someone to take that kind of time and you know, create that kind of damage for someone, I don't know what to say. I was appalled, and as the days linger on, I'm pretty much embarrassed. So I just wanted to put that out there before we went any further, okay?
I agree. I was going to bring it up later on in the meeting.
If I can get a roll call
Mr.
vote.
Chairman, I move that we enter executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, and that we will be returning to open session at the conclusion of executive session.
Second.
Brian,
Yes.
Costa,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and I am a yes.
Okay, so we'll now enter executive session, and at the conclusion, we will be returning to open session.
Oh, yeah.
Let's back in, yeah? No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're back.
Okay.
Hi, Captain.
Good evening, everyone. We're back from executive session. How are you, Matt? So, that being the case, item number 2 is town business and the reading of the warrant. If you would, Justin Sulzbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have before you warrant number 2521 dated April 17th, 2025. Coming in on the payroll side of things, $836,000. The 2 overtime lines for fire, just under $16,000. For police, just under $4,000. We've been calling those out throughout the year, and especially now as we approach upcoming annual town meeting and we look to address the staffing issue for our public safety teams. On the bills payable side of things, $119,000. A couple items I'd like to highlight there. $7,500 payout for an insurance claim deductible. For the DPW, there's a $28,449 replace infield ATM. What that is a groomer for the clay on the infield at the ball fields. Under IT, $28,000 roughly for Q3 shared IT services running January through March, as well as about $15,000 for new phones and laptops, all of which are now online. Good job there with the cutover. And then for the schools, $218,000 for health insurance premiums, and on the town side, $156,000 also for health insurance premiums. Additionally, you have facilities project warrant FP 59. This is a light one, just under $87,000. Majority of which are soft costs, as well as some site utilities work that's ongoing. And that's everything for now.
I see there's a small amount of snow left on here. Are we officially in the black on that budget, so we're not asking for anything at town meeting?
So we are still taking a look at some equipment issues, so even though we're cleared on the weather, we may have to repair some equipment out of that, and so we haven't quite nailed down that figure just yet.
Okay.
Move to accept warrant 2521 and facilities project 59 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Now we have the minutes for a joint open session on March 27, an open session April 1, an executive session, that's twice. Is that, no, open session, I'm sorry, an executive session. If you all had a chance to look over the minutes, any
I did.
discussion?
There was just a spot where there was a name missing. Did we find that name and
Oh,
insert
yes,
it?
I'm sorry, in the printed copy, it's Alex
Okay.
Leosis from
Okay,
PCA.
thanks.
Nice. Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the joint open session from March 27th, 2025. Open session April 1st, 2025. And the executive session minutes for April 1st, 2025 as written.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second, no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, passed unanimously, thank you. Now, Justin, if you would please, your town administrator updates and reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Assistant Treasurer Liz Valentine started today. We wish her the best of luck. She seemed to have been settling in nicely. We have, as a scheduling note, removed the May 20th Select Board meeting just because it conflicts with the upcoming annual town election. It's going to be chaotic here as it is, and so as a solid, we wanted to remove one more element of chaos. Also, in relation to that, I, along with the town clerk, met with the schools last week to talk about the logistics of what school would look like that day. They can't cancel school, but we're looking at ways we could take additional pressure off the parking situation. And so at your upcoming meeting, we will be bringing forward a recommendation and proposed language to lift the parking ban in Brigadoon for one day. We'll send correspondence to all the neighbors. We'll pull a list. And I believe what we landed on is that the faculty and staff in this building are going to park in Brigadoon and walk down the walkway, which is going to free up additional parking for people looking to come in during the day and vote. So we'll have a finalized proposal for that at your next meeting. I wanted to note that the project, the former Angelica site, is upcoming to appear on an upcoming ZBA agenda for a small change to the proposed project. So if people may recall, on the commercial element of things, there was kind of a standalone building with a drive-through that was somewhat contentious. The drive-through didn't get approved, but the plan was approved with the infrastructure still in place, just to keep an option open, in my opinion, for the developer in the future if they wanted to come through and get something approved. They've since proposed, or what they will be proposing, is removing that standalone structure, taking a little bit of the mass from that and adding it to the larger proposed commercial strip, so it's an overall net loss. Taking parking from there and putting it towards the count for the residential piece in the back, which is then going to make it so that they don't need to purchase a section of 18 Boston Street for parking on that side. So they're kind of shifting some things around. The total overall change, though, is a net decrease in building area and additional green space, so it's not necessarily a
Is
bad.
the residential building, is the footprint and exact location for that building staying identically to the plan, or is that being changed at all?
It's, last I saw, it's identically to the plan, so the only thing they're doing is taking a chunk of parking that was, well, if you're looking at it, I'm saying up here, but if you're looking at the plan, at the top of the plan, shifting it around to the side, which is then.
That was always green space, though. It wasn't really parking originally on that plan. It was kind of just space that could be used for something additional, that, on that second lot that was behind it. Because I remember looking at the last plan, and behind the building, or looking at the plan, at the top of the plan, there was this, like, green space.
So they needed a buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a landscaping
Is
buffer
the
there.
buffer staying?
But So buffer stay, it has to stay, but it's just shifting down.
Okay.
And then shifting down, the parking that buffer is gonna take up is now
Okay.
shifting down to the left of the plan. Removing that, would have been a standalone
that-
restaurant.
But the parking is going to be separate and designated separate between the commercial and residential.
With an emergency gate.
Yes.
Yep,
So there still won't be a way to drive from one
correct.
to the other?
Yep. And once again, that's, as last I heard it, about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. But it will be, coming before the, ZBA on an upcoming meeting. So we encourage people to tune in to that.
Does that preclude anything being out front there, or is it, I know you might not know the answer, but as far as, what are your feelings on that? I mean, is that it? That property's gonna have the residential with a giant
Oh, no, so.
parking lot, or is there someday something could happen?
So the large commercial, so the way it was designed, as people most recently remember it, there was a large commercial strip and then a standalone commercial building.
Yep.
They're getting rid of the small standalone commercial building and then scaling up the big
other one.
commercial strip. So there'll still be that commercial element. Stylistically, identically the same. It's not gonna be a big monster or anything. It's gonna be a village-style feel with, alternating textures and materials and breaks in the roof line and things like that.
Does he have any indication on groundbreaking?
So he, like many other people, is closely watching the tariff situation unfold, is my understanding. The last hurdle they have is financing. And so I think the move that they're proposing here is tightening that project up a little bit and making it more appealing, in my opinion. So that's definitely an element. So the short answer is no.
But he can't do the commercial project if he's doing the residential project, correct?
He
He
has to-
can't own them.
Yes, own them,
Yes.
but he can do them and then sell.
Correct.
But I think it makes the commercial building less financeable.
His proposed change? Potentially. But I would attend the ZBA meeting and let them know because it wasn't on the agenda tonight, so. All right, we're gonna keep on cruising. I will be attending the Fire Protection and Safety Technology Advisory Board. It's a group that I serve as a town management representative for one element of that board, so we appreciate the work that they do, and I'm happy to represent town management in that regard. We received proposals from 3 qualified firms for the comprehensive rezoning of Middleton. The review group of which Debbie is part of, thank you for your time, went through those extensively, identified a front runner, and are going to be putting that recommendation forward to the planning board, at which time the planning board will interview that firm in a public meeting. So it should be interesting to see the outcome there, but I think we have a winner there.
And that'll be the planning board's sole decision?
Correct.
Okay.
I held TA hours last week at the Flint Public Library. Thank you for those that attended. And we also attended the Ferncroft HOA meeting, as well as a visit to the folks at Fuller Pond. So Jeff, thank you for coordinating that. And Costa, thank you for attending Ferncroft. We'll be going back to Fuller Pond on May 6th.
Wednesday, yeah, is that
Yeah.
the 6th or 7th, whatever Wednesday is.
To Tuesday.
Wednesday the 7th.
Wednesday
So
the
on the
7th.
So on May 7th, visiting again just for I think it's the annual meeting,
Yeah.
right? So it's a little more widely attended. We also rolled out a new public outreach effort today, referred to as Table Talk with the town administration, and we will be traveling around town in an effort to meet people where they are. So that includes going to, setting up a table at the library this week during school vacation, so there's a lot of foot traffic, people coming in and out, just to talk about the budget or any town issues people may have. We're also going to set up a table outside Memorial Hall in the coming weeks, outside North Main Street around lunchtime. People may be running in to grab permits or something like that. And also one Sunday at the transfer station. So if you see us, feel free to come by and ask us some questions, and we'll happily chat with you. I'll be paying a visit to the Democratic and Republican town committees in the coming weeks to answer questions they may have about the annual town meeting, as well as just general town questions, so I look forward to that visit. As a reminder, the pre-town meeting will be held this upcoming Monday, April 28th, and we're hearing that the warrant has started to hit people's
Yep.
mailboxes, so keep an eye out for that. A lot of work goes into that. It's a dozen or so different documents that end up getting compiled to this final product. A huge thank you to Jackie, who does a lot of that compiling, and Sarah as well. But it's a great book, really thorough and comprehensive. So as always, if people have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Hey, Paul. Didn't even see you sneak in there. And that is everything for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Justin. All right, item number 3, a discussion and final approval of a public health excellence grant intermunicipal agreement. And I thought I saw Tracy here, but okay.
She left.
So, that's in our packet, and who can give us a little bit more of a condensed? It's a rhetorical question, Jackie, but thank you, go
I
ahead.
appreciate all questions, rhetorical and otherwise. So the board will recall you've previously reviewed this document. So we had taken on the Public Health Excellence Grant back in 2021 as a collaboration with Boxford and Topsfield. At that time, Topsfield was the lead community. In the subsequent years, it's gone very well. Topsfield saw some change in their health department, as have we. And Middleton took the lead of this program as of July 1, 2024. So this IMA just solidifies that final change of us being the lead community. It also identifies in the exhibits the positions that we are currently funding through that Public Health Excellence Grant. So we currently have a shared full-time health inspector, 40-hour-week position that's covering food and septic inspections in all 3 communities. We have the shared health nurse, Julia LaBelle, who you may see out and about at various places. And we also have a shared services coordinator, a part-time position, Jessica Carter, who is working out of 195, who does all of the grant reporting, all of the data. There's quite a lot of requirements from the state that we have to report back. And I'm very pleased to announce that we'll be bringing on an independent contractor to serve as our shared social worker position. So more updates to come on that. The program is going very well. Tracy and Scott Solnier in her office are both doing a lot of work to get that going, as well as our shared positions and our team. So this, last time you saw it, materially hasn't changed, but we had some review by Topsfield and Boxford Town Council, which is KP Law. Mead, Tellerman, and Costa has also reviewed, as has the state. So this is ready for your final approval at this time.
Is the Public Health Excellence Grant an annual allocation, or was it a singular allocation for multiple years?
It's a great question. It's been funded twice by the legislature, and then every July, for July 1 every year, we certify how much our annual operating budget will be funded by the state for it.
Do we have any expectation that this grant will continue for Middleton because of 3A?
We have verified that this grant in particular is not subject, because it is a misnomer, but they called it a grant, but it is not subject to 3A. We've checked a number of times to ensure that we can keep it.
Okay.
So I'll move to approve the Public Health Excellence Grant intermunicipal agreements as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And,
And the Board of Health will vote on
Board
it
of-
tomorrow.
yeah.
In here in Middleton, and that will be the final approval of the 6 bodies that need to approve it through the 3 communities.
That's great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, now on to item number 4, which is a vote to approve the police captain's MOU.
And Mr. Chair, one note on this, this
Yep.
represents the MOU for both fiscal 25
Okay.
and fiscal 26. We're a tad behind. So this is our catch-up and doing next year as well.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the MOU as described for both fiscal years.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second. I'm going to make it public. I'll be abstaining from this vote, but all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, with 4 and 1 abstention.
And Captain Armitage is here tonight.
What do you got?
Thank you, Captain.
Thanks, Kat.
Okey-doke. Next will be a review and vote to affirm the transfer station fees. I don't know who wants to.
I think that might
Take
be
that.
a Paul.
it's actually me again.
Really?
Paul really
Well,
wants
it
it.
just threw me because now I'm seeing him, but it's,
Jackie stacked the agenda this week.
Yeah,
Okay.
I really, I've been quite busy. So this is a revisitation of the conversation we had previously at your January 21st Select Board meeting, where we had used our new financial policy to provide updates to the transfer station fees. And if you take a look in your packet, you'll see the proposal. So this is us following our financial policy that was approved by both the Select Board and the Finance Committee. And this year would represent the fees being at $195 for the first vehicle and $50 for the second vehicle and recycling sticker, respectively. One comment that was made at your prior meeting, which I have an update on, was if we could better forecast out the next 2 to 3 years, so that we could set the fee once now and hold it for the next 2 to 3 years, which was the recommendation. But could we do a better job of forecasting out what our costs are going to be? And Paul and I have talked about this. Unfortunately, it's really hard to predict because everything with our Covanta contract, which is the major cost driver to what goes into the calculation for the sticker fees, is the consumer price index. And so we won't even know what that increase is for July 1 until after town meeting this year. And we talked about it again today. There's really no way of us being able to predict 2-3 years out. In addition to that, we would also have to amend the financial policy previously recommended by the Solid Waste Advisory Committee and voted on by this board and the Finance Committee to do it differently than how we've presented it to you. I can offer that our Finance Director, Sarah Wood, was incredibly accurate in predicting numbers for fiscal 26 in terms of sticker projections that are factored into this calculation, as I shared with the board via email earlier today. Stickers for year to date, as of today, we've sold 1,549 first cars, 476 second cars, and 199 recycling stickers, which almost aligns perfectly with our
She
expectations.
missed the recycling by one.
She was really close. We'll give it to her. And so we are going to hold those numbers for next year as well, as we are pretty well into the season, and anything left for sticker sales is likely people moving into town, like funny things versus, real purchasing.
Right down to even a home changing hands. You don't know if they're gonna purchase a transfer sticker or they're gonna have their private color.
Correct. So I think we have a pretty good estimate. The recommendation would be to approve the fees tonight so we can begin the advertising process well in advance of when they would take effect for the new sticker season. I will offer that the feedback that was provided in January will go into the conversation that we have. The Solid Waste Advisory Committee has one more dance before they're done next winter before the budget process. So we'll take a look at amending the policy at that time to see if there's any way we can factor out more years than one. But with the way that the Covanta contract is structured, it's going to be really hard to do so with any accuracy.
When is the Covanta contract set to be renegotiated?
This will be the second year of the 3-year contract,
So we're going into the third year?
going into the second.
Okay, going into the second, okay.
They've changed hands too, it's not Covanta anymore, it's some other name.
What's it now?
Reworld something,
The firm formerly known as Covanta?
formerly known as Covanta, yeah.
So I'll move to affirm the transfer station fees per the Solid Waste Management Committee's recommendation at $195, $50, and $50.
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and next, we have our Department of Public Works Superintendent on hand for a department head update, Mr. Paul Goodwin. Thank you.
Good evening, all. Do you want me to sit here, stand up there?
Come up to the table.
Yeah, your table's probably better.
I don't bite, Paul.
I think I'm loud enough.
Just in case.
Good evening, thank you for having me. Just going to give a broad stroke update on the overview and the many
things we have going on in town. As you guys know, many of the tasks we perform are probably unseen and unknown a lot of times, so I'd like to give kudos to the crew when it's due. First and foremost, that's where I want to start tonight, is with our personnel. We have a lot of new faces, a lot of new places, a lot of people, not with not a lot of experience, but without them, everything I'm going to discuss further wouldn't be possible. They're what makes the engine run here. So, they come in every day on time, put in 40 hours a week, work very hard, and what they lack of an experience sometimes you make up in the best kind of ability at all, and that's availability. They're actually here doing their job. So kudos to them, the entire staff, and thanks to them for all they do. Again, broad strokes, some of the many branches we touch on really fast. Budgets, finances, and office stuff. Finishing prep for the FY26 and getting ready for the FY25 closeout. Warrants, payroll, time off accruals, permits, sale of lots, and so on, and Chapter 90 reimbursement type stuff. Cemeteries, fields, parks, and grounds. We're continuing our seasonal maintenance, everything's gonna start really growing now. Especially when it goes from snowing 2 Saturdays ago to 40 degrees warmer the next Saturday. Mowing, trimming, brush cutting, leaf pickup, line the fields, internments, fertilizing. And as always, we'll strive to make Oakdale look very good for Memorial Day. Guys take a lot of pride in that, as does the community. Equipment and buildings. We bounced back from the fire last year pretty well, and now we had a windstorm that almost ripped off our salt shed roof. So we're going to try to get that repaired, going through insurance. We're working on that as we speak. We did get our 3 capital items, pieces of equipment we asked for last year. They were the sander, the infield grooming machine, and the flail mower. That's the big thing that goes on the back of the tractor that mows the side of the road. The guys love the new infield machine. It works really good. One special note I do want to make, and bear with me here, Travis is more the equipment guy than I am. We need new piece of equipment a lot, but sometimes it's not always as it's cracked up to be, because some of this new stuff with all the regulatory emission stuff can be a real pain in the you-know-what. If I had a quarter for every time our roll-off truck was over Peterbilt store, I'd be a very rich man right now. It's very, very frustrating. The computer doesn't talk to the sensors in this, and the def generating thing doesn't do it. Excuse me. It's extremely frustrating. So we're dealing with it, though.
Pay more, get less.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. Again, a lot of it is because of the emissions regulations, and everything's computerized nowadays, so if you don't have the thing to plug in to tell you what's wrong, we don't really know. So it's very hard. We have a lot of guys that do a lot of good work after hours at the shop to keep our equipment running, but some of the
Is
stuff...
that still under warranty?
Yes. So actually, we started today because it's getting so bad that we put in a, for lack of a better term, a claim towards Peterbilt to make sure we have everything documented. So a couple of years from now, when it's not under warranty, we don't get, what, because of this. So it's been very frustrating, but we're dealing with it. A few highway and roads things coming up is we're currently working with North Reading in our consortium. Linfield has dropped out of the Tri-Town consortium, so it's just a bi-town consortium now with North Reading and Middleton. Dan over North Reading has done a lot of the legwork on that, so I appreciate that. So we're trying to close out all the, either renew the contracts that could be renewed or put other ones out to bid. The ones that went out to bid this year was for paving and emergency utility work. Everything else has been kind of hard to get going because a sweeping company no longer exists either, so we're trying to find another sweeping company. So it's been a challenge, but we'll get there once we get everything signed. Justin signed most of them. When I get the other ones back, he'll sign those. Then we'll start scheduling it and all that stuff for street sweeping, catch basin cleaning, all that stuff. Some of you may have seen we just repaired a collapsed drain on 4th Street at the intersection of Evans Road. We did that because we're going to mill and pave 4th Street this year, hopefully before July 1st. We're going to use the millings to bring down North Liberty Street and improve the quality of that road as well. So, 2 for 1, so to speak. Speaking of the gravel roads, they were just graded. They look really good, a lot better. Other plans in the future for paving in the very near future is an overlay of Essex Street from the north end of the line to Lightner Way. Justin got a letter this year that Chapter 9 went up quite a bit. It's not signed in the granite tablet yet, but it went up from like 320 to like 470. So that's a significant jump. That money is not available though till well after July 1st. The Boston Street sidewalk, we are working on punch list items. Actually, the contract will be out tomorrow to finish loam, seeding, removing the erosion control, sealing the crack between the curb and the pavement that they made, putting in the curb. I haven't heard any complaints about that project, so I'm assuming that means it's went pretty well. Everybody seems to like it. The PB Street Bridge work is done. Just to bring this up again, the Maple Street Bridge work is being delayed till spring of '27. Snow, even though it's over for the year, we didn't get a lot of snow, but it was a challenging winter at times. That weekend, the snow to rain to freezing, that was tough. Guys put in a lot of hours that weekend. Some of the guys put in a lot of hours, I'll leave it at that. Thanks to Travis and the crew and the contractors for many sleepless nights taking care of our roads during the winter. Probably about $5,000 left in it. So we don't have to, we should pay to avoid that article.
Good.
Regulatory stuff, it never ends. It's probably one of the most frustrating things about my job. I know it's necessary, but it can be very frustrating, time-consuming, and costly. We have regulations from everything from procurement to what to do with our lawn clippings and leaf stuff at the transfer station. Yes, that's a true story. Takes up a lot of time, effort, and a lot of help with that. Transfer station, Eric and the crew continue to do a great job up there, operating everybody up there who does the testing for us up there, always comments how clean that place is up there. Not easy to keep that place clean, so good job to the crew. Speaking of regulatory compliance, the transfer station has some annual monitoring it needs to do. We've done every year, but this year was PFAS was added to it, as I know you guys have heard about. So whoever, CDM Smith does that monitoring for us, and they send me a quarterly thing about this stick, and we sign it back to send it to DEP. But this year with PFAS, we have had, I won't get into it too deep, because Jeff and I are going to meet next Monday with CDM Smith and DEP to discuss this at length, and I'm sure he'll update you guys after that. But this is Pandora's box opening, as far as I'm concerned. So just be prepared for that. What else?
It's not just here, though.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Again, we can go into this further, but I'm sure we'll want to take time. It's a very time-consuming. But it will be coming up more, and we'll know more next week. We're dealing with the best we can right now, but it's going to get worse. Water. We just finished up flushing hydrants for the spring. We couldn't do it last year because of the drought in the fall. A lot of regulatory stuff we're doing here. Tony and myself are working on, we had a sanitary survey by DEP in the fall. Every town gets picked randomly every couple of years for that, just to make sure we're doing things we're supposed to be doing. Just did our ASR, our annual statistical report, working on a CCR, consumer confidence report. You guys all get that trifold thing in the mail. Lead and copper rule things are extending this year, getting more extensive. In the distribution system, we're going to work on exercising gate valves this year, which is something you really want to do because you don't want to find something in February when it's 0 out that you can't get on or shut off. Had another water break on Central Street this year. That's the third one we've had in 5 years on Central Street. That's an old cast iron pipe. We should really look into replacing that in the near future when money allows. That's one thing we should really do.
Can that be something that could be relined, or should it just be?
It's so small, I mean, it's already only 6-inch.
Okay.
So, we continue to do dig safe, construction oversight, and so on. Suppose we should talk about the Liberty Street and Essex Street water main projects that were done this winter. They are complete. The digging in the road is done. They, all the main hydrants, services, et cetera, is completed. This Thursday and Friday, they will be on site doing punch list work, loam and seeding, removing erosion control, and yes, shimming the trenches on Liberty Street that are pretty bad. But considering the project, it's really not that bad of a construction zone, especially Essex Street held up really well. So we will shim Liberty Street this week. The paving schedule for those roads is, I'm gonna try to wait as long as possible because you want everything to settle as much as you can. So 2 years from now, you're not looking at a big seam in the road. But I would like to do it definitely before school starts. The one problem is I gotta wait till everything is, the Essex Street project especially, cost, I won't bore you with the details, but it took more than the contract said, so there was change orders for $40,000 here and a couple $1,000s there. So that contract had paving, full width milling and paving as part of the contract. Liberty Street did not, 'cause we did not have enough money, but I'll figure out something. We'll get the money to get it done. It will get done. Not quite sure yet, but I'll figure out something. And thank you to police, fire, and the schools for their patience during that. It wasn't always easy with the school buses getting by, but we worked together and got it done. And one thing you guys should know is Middleton is a member of the North Shore Water Resiliency Task Force. We basically get together once every couple months, and we meet with everyone else in Essex County that draws out the Ipswich River watershed. Basically what it's, and it has a lot of politicians involved in this group. Basically what we're trying to do is trying to find ways to conserve our most precious commodity, which is drinking water, while also allowing towns to grow that need it. Not always an easy balance, but this group is, like I said, a lot of decision makers involved in this, and now we're in some subcommittees that are trying to do certain things. Justin and I met with Tony the other day with one of those subcommittees just getting started. So basically trying to protect the area's water resources. That's everything in a broad stroke, general nutshell. Any questions?
A couple of things on water. Remember, a few years ago, there was an issue on Lake Street. They would put pumps in people's houses.
Because of the pressure.
Lakeview.
Lakeview.
Okay.
Yes.
So are those pumps working, right? They're failing.
Yeah, we've had, a woman came in the other day. We've done probably 3 or 4 in the past year. Usually they put them the same time, they're gonna stop failing the same
Yeah.
time, you know, so.
But that's about their expected
Yep.
life?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
8 years, whatever we want.
Yeah, 8 to 10 years.
8, 10 years.
Yep.
Is any of this looping that's happened nearby had a positive effect on the pressure?
I haven't heard anything to the contrary, so that's a good thing.
I'm just wondering if the pumps there on Lakeview are going to continue to be needed as they continue to fill, or?
Yeah, the elevation on Lakeview
Okay.
will need that, yeah. But the looping, I did get a resident stop the other day out of the blue and just mentioned to me how it was very wise to do that, looping the system. It's, I don't know how much you guys know about water, but it needs to stay moving.
Yeah.
Dead ends and cul-de-sacs are not good for water. So, in my opinion, it was very well spent, $2 million for half in ARPA funds, half in water enterprise funds.
How many new services, has anyone taken that, or?
A couple people have already called on Essex Street, say when can they connect. It is on, by the way, it's on, already been flushed, sampled, all that stuff. So, a couple people have called, haven't heard anything recently, but it is available to everyone that passed to connect. It's from the main to their property line to a curb box, and they just have to go from the curb box into their house.
And all the stubs were brought to the property line?
All the stuff is brought to the property line, yep. Contractor did a very good job, in my opinion. They're good at putting pipe in the ground. I don't know though how good they are at paving or landscaping, but they're good at putting pipe in the ground.
Okay, any other questions?
Is that it?
I will note, I was gonna get your first thing in the morning, but since you're here, Jeff had reached out, there's a pothole, somewhere out this way. Jeff, is that right?
In front of the new facility.
Oh, my God,
Oh.
I hit it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's Mass Dot. I'll mention it to them.
thank you.
If they can't come right out, maybe temporarily put something in it.
It's a state road, but
I missed it.
And beyond that, beyond assigning you an additional task that you certainly don't need, while you're here, I just do want to thank you and your team. You all do an exceptional job, and I think a lot of, as you know, a lot of the work you all do, if you're doing a good job, you don't hear about it, and it kind of blends in. So we don't get a ton of complaints here at all in the scheme of things. So you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I've done this job long enough to realize that no complaints is pretty much a compliment.
Yeah. And the erosion controls for the sidewalk job, are they, I know you said that was on a punch list, you obviously got to wait until they loom it, and
Yeah, I talked to Kristen, the conservation agent, she said as long as we loom and seed it, she's okay with removing it now. So they're gonna try to take it down tomorrow.
Somebody had asked me before.
Yeah,
but I
they're
haven't
gonna try to
heard
get it all
back.
down tomorrow.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Paul.
So- All right, item number 7, a review of the appraisal for the police station located at 65 North Main Street. We have that now.
I'm going to recuse myself from this conversation because I'm a direct abutter to the property.
Okay.
So I went through the appraisal, and all seems pretty clear. The one question I had is the appraisal versus the current assessed value. And what's the discrepancy?
Yeah, so if I recall correctly, I think the assessed value is about 1.2.
Almost 1.29.
Yeah, so it's not unusual, and I'll let Debbie jump in here because she's the assessor in the room, but it's not unusual for an assessed value and an appraisal to not link up. In my experience, typically the assessed value is a little under the appraised value, but not always. So do you have any thoughts on that?
I do, and I seen the same thing, but I wasn't surprised when I seen it. First of all, this in particular appraisal was done April 9th of 25. Our assessed value is a year behind. So if the indicators through the market were telling us last year as of January 1st that land values, and it's the land value that is making the assessed value higher, not the building, bottom line building value. So the indicators were telling us that the commercial land values up there were higher then. Is it possible that when we do the analysis for 26, that those get tweaked down a little? Possible. But we're not far apart on the appraised value and the assessed value. I honestly thought this appraisal would have come out around 1.1. And I did look at the comps. He did go far, but it's a unique piece of property. And sometimes the adjustments that the appraisers use, and this company is very well known, they do a great job. It's an opinion. An appraisal is just that. It's an opinion. But I think, in my opinion, reading the appraisal for the properties that were used as comps that were far, I feel could have had a little more adjusting. So that was what I took of it. But if you take the two, we're still at like 98%, I think. I figured it out Friday, Saturday, whatever day.
So we're in the right neighborhood, and I think overall the goal of this is part of the broader effort to dispose of our surplus properties. Our hope was in time for annual town meeting to have a rough number to go off of to give to, the townspeople. So we've accomplished that goal. We'll go ahead and post this report up on the website so people can take a look at it. It is one of the articles in the upcoming annual town meeting to authorize the select board to go through the process of putting the police station up for sale. That's not something that's going to happen immediately, obviously, because the police are still using it until we're in the new building early in calendar year 26. But
What is so if town meeting gives this board the approval to dispose of the property, what is your anticipated timeline for issuing an RFP?
So part of it's dependent on workflow. I personally would like to get this one off our plate as soon as possible. It's probably the easiest one we have on the roster right now. Even if that means, getting it together, getting it out on the market, and if we buy it, or sell it and rent it, ask the buyer to rent it back to us for, $1 or something.
No, but we can always, put in a closing date that's for after we
Right.
move.
Sure. And even then, I would say, like, at this point in time, we're on target timeline-wise. I wouldn't be comfortable committing to a specific date, but I think by the time we get to this, we're gonna be close enough that we can say with certainty we'll be out of there by, February or
I
March.
mean, are you thinking an RFP in August, RFP in November? Like, what's your,
I'd say end of summer, like August, September.
September would
I
be
mean,
good.
so your plan is that hopefully we will have this revenue in hand around the time that we're getting ready to do a final bonding?
It could line up that way.
Okay.
I think this recommended, because exposure was an element of this as well, and I think it recommended it, keeping it out for about 4 months or something like that. But those timelines could line up,
Okay.
yeah.
Very good.
Alrighty. Anything else? We'll move on to our public comment section that we moved for purposes of having started the meeting earlier, and to make sure that persons interested in it had time to attend. And as always, if there's something you really need and you want to do it, you can contact us ahead of time, and we'll try to accommodate you by moving it, where it sits currently in an agenda. We can always move it for you if you're requesting it. So do we have anyone here currently that wishes to make a public comment? No. Okay.
Hearing none. Hearing none.
Yeah, no, I made my public comment at the top of the meeting, so, rather than wait till now. Okay, then we'll move on to item number 9, which is the vote to opt in to in-person early voting. And we have with us our very own clerk, who can maybe enlighten us with this.
Hello.
So, this is nothing new. This is the third or fourth year I've been back to go through this process from the election law changes of 2020. Our legislators, through the election law update, had early voting as an opt-in feature. So we get at least 50% of the Board of Registrars to recommend it. I've recommended it, and our final stop is a recommendation from the Select Board. So it's a fairly simple procedure, as you've done over the last few years. I'm sure you all agree that early voting, in-person early voting is necessary. Well, I'm getting a lot of calls already. So we do it for every other election. We're required to. This is, the local elections are the only ones where we can opt in or opt out.
Eileen, have any of the area communities around the Essex, Merrimack Valley not opted in on municipals?
No, it's not a good look.
I just didn't know if any were.
Not everybody's doing a big mail-in voting push. Because as we saw, I had thousands, almost 3,000 ballots go out. When we have state elections, you get the postcard, people check all elections. Well, we're obligated to send them for local elections. I sent them out, I only got a few hundred back. That's a lot of money to put out. People get a town ballot.
In the
and
November
they say-
election or in the municipal?
No, for a local.
Local.
They get the ballot and they say, what is this? I don't even, people don't send it back. It's not a presidential. They're expecting.
Right.
a
So those are
ballot.
going out to all those people this time again, or?
No, because we're not doing a big mail-in voting push. The state doesn't send it out on an odd year. So no postcards went out to any households in the Commonwealth. I did not opt to do a mail-in application in the census. So we're making mail-in ballot applications available, as always. We'll send an early voting ballot, we'll always send an absentee ballot, but the application's online, They can register online through the Secretary of State's office. It transmits to us. So it's not that difficult. You just have to go do it instead of checking a box and sending a postcard. So, and it's only in these odd election years where we only have a local election this year. So we'll be offering early voting with your recommendation along with ours. We'll begin on Monday, May 12th, 8 to 4. Tuesday, the 13th is town meeting, so we will do it 8 to 4. We won't do a late night because we'll be at town meeting. Wednesday, the 14th, will be 8 to 4. Thursday, the 15th, we're going to extend, and we will probably stay open until 7 PM to give people a little bit time after work to come early vote. Friday, it's 8 to 1, normal business hours. It's closed off. The law requires that's the last day. Early voting can happen in person. Mail-in applications are, the deadline is 5 days prior to the election, so that'll be cut off during that week of early voting. But absentee voting, which is obviously one and the same, they can come in and vote absentee until noontime on Monday, the day before the election. So if people really find that they're going to be out of town and just can't get to the polls, they can come vote till noon, absentee, not early. And of course, Election Day, which we expect to be very, very busy. So,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend, in conjunction with the clerk and the registrars, in-person early voting from Monday, May 12th through Friday, May 16th at the hours as described by the clerk.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any questions, discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Any other questions for elections?
Thank you in advance for the, the upcoming.
One more. One
And
more done.
Eileen, you said
Yes.
the applications are online, just for the
They're on our
public.
website. They're on the town clerk's page. They're on the homepage under elections. There's a link. It'll be on social media. Actually, it is already, the mail-in link on the town clerk's page. And we're going to start doing blasts, and we're already getting, people are already, they know they want to, we're getting calls. They want to know how to vote, how they can vote.
To actually be getting people voting on the override before town meeting votes on the override.
We do. Last year, we had thousands of ballots out in the mail before we even got going. And we got them back, and nobody really knew much about it. So, yes, but this time we won't have a lot out in the mail, unless I get a big push. Ballots are the ballots were being printed today, so by the time they're shipped to us, and then we'll start. Once we have the ballots, people can start voting. They can vote absentee anytime.
And you always put the sample ballots up online.
I will put the sample ballots up on the
Yeah, you always
website.
do.
And so we're getting people walk-ins. They want to see it. They want to know who the candidates are. We have a lot of people who are very upset. They don't know who the candidates are. Oh, and so I will add on that I have been notified by the League of Women Voters that they will be doing candidates night. And it has been booked for May 8th at 7 PM here at the Fuller Meadow Library.
I received a letter Saturday, I think.
Right, so the contested races got their letters. The uncontested races will be getting contacted. They've asked if I could give emails of all the candidates. And so I think people are typically okay with that, just to make sure that you in fact got notification. But as always, we'll videotape it, and we'll put it up on the website. And it'll be on the cable channel as well. We'll put it on Facebook, so everybody can learn about the candidates. So, that's it. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now, item number 10, if we have any further discussion for the fiscal year 26 budget. Any updates or discussion? Anybody?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So only one minor update. The House budget was released about 6 days ago. I met with Sarah today, and we discussed some elements of it. The only takeaway is UGA was decreased, Chapter 70 was increased. Net, it's all about the same for us, so there's no significant change there, but we'll continue to monitor. The state is always a little bit behind us typically, so we'll keep an eye on what their final number is.
The House budget to the governor's budget, increased funding for Masco by about 200,000.
I saw that.
Okay, nothing else there? Thank you, Justin. Okay, now item number 11 is the May 13, 2025 annual town meeting article recommendations vote. Hearing first is the town's public safety vote, public safety override, I'm sorry, that I will be abstaining from making any vote or anything on that, if someone wants to kind of take over from right here on that. You want to-
Debbie, as clerk, you want
You're right next to him.
to? Okay. So, we've discussed this at length through the budget process. I think, with all the questions we had, we debated, we came to conclusions, and article, which is Article 6 should be.
$975.
So it's on the petition of the select board, so hoping we're endorsing this, so is there a motion to
I'll
support?
move that we give a positive recommendation and endorse Article 6, the public safety override.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Should this be a roll call? No?
Doesn't have to.
Aye.
And 4 in favor, no against, 1 abstention. Rick, I turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you. So on the schools, I did note that they still have remaining meetings to come up between now and then, but I'm not sure if we expect much to change on that. I don't know if anyone has
I would
any-
recommend Article 7 discussion be postponed until our May 6th meeting, which is after the Middleton Elementary School Committee's next meeting.
What do we expect to change? I mean, the number is there, the article is there, I'm just asking.
I think there's going to be a discussion, I hope there's going to be a discussion at the next elementary school committee about a budget an error that was in the budget that was presented to the town. And I think that discussion's going to happen at the next meeting.
I'm not aware of that, so, okay, if there is, I have no idea what you're talking about.
And we meet on May 6th.
Yes.
Okay.
So I believe the elementary school meets on May 5th, and I believe Masco meets on April 30th.
Would they be allowed to, no, they wouldn't be allowed to make changes at town meeting because it's not a ballot, it's a ballot question.
No, they
Just
could,
thinking down in terms of,
any changes could be made at town meeting by amendment, by anybody.
Well, what would happen to the ballot
to the
question?
ballot was my only question.
Well, the ballot question actually just approves an override. It's approving what has been authorized to be expended at town meeting.
It's important to note, and this is in the warrant book too, that the list that the elementary school committee provides is educational and informational only. The school committee has the line item budget authority, as all school committees do.
Right,
So
what
that's
they
an
actually
informational list only, regardless.
The way this is written, with the explanation, if somebody were to read this from scratch,
Which article?
the elementary school,
7.
it reads like they're looking to add these positions. It looks, if you read this and never, and knew absolutely nothing, but got this book in the mail and read it, it looks like it's an article to add these positions, which in fact it's not.
Well, actually, in reality, it's not new positions, but they're adding them to the budget, because the omnibus budget does not include this $537,276. And what the school committee has stated is the $537,276 represents 3 classroom teachers, 2 special ed teachers, 1 reading teacher, et cetera, as it's detailed here. So in fact, it may not be new positions based on the current budget, it would be newly funded positions based on the omnibus budget that will be passed as part of article number 7. Thank you.
5.
5, sorry.
You see what I mean?
Oh,
Omnibus is
Article
5.
5 is the omnibus,
Is it
yeah,
omnibus?
Article 7. So, I mean, in terms of that, Jeff, the list and the purpose is what was provided to us from the schools.
But you see my point?
I could see it if people weren't as familiar with it as we are, or if they haven't been tuned in.
I do give the elementary school committee a lot of credit for being extremely transparent of if the override doesn't pass, i.e. if just the omnibus budget stands, but Article 7 doesn't stand, both at town meeting and the ballot, these are the positions that will not be funded, including, in addition to positions about $10,000 in what they're calling consumables, which would be supplies, et cetera.
Supplies, yep.
and
So,
they did explain though.
no, I will give the elementary administration and school committee credit for being extremely transparent. I wish Masconomet was, but we'll get to that in a second.
Justice, you're aware there's some mistake in the budget or something with the elementary that Brian's referring to?
So there was a discrepancy relative to the health insurance numbers that I believe they're working out internally, and they're going to make reference to it at their upcoming meeting.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so there's a motion then to move this to, postpone it to May 6th. Is there a
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second, all right. And then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, sorry for that confusion. And the next was be the Masconomet Regional Override Budget, which is on the next page. No, I don't,
Page 21.
Page
Page 21.
again, I don't, I guess, I think we could take a vote on it. I don't know
So,
if we got any changes or.
Yeah, the only comments I have on this, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again, is the transparency on this. To your point, Jeff, when you read Article 7, which is about the elementary school, somebody would wonder if these are new positions. When you read Article 8, you wonder, what the heck is the $460,194 for? You know, this board's been very clear of why this is being proposed as an override, because as the budget, as proposed, which I think the Masconomet overall budget increase is 8.1%? 8.1%. If Middleton absorbed that portion as part of our operating budget, we would have been asking for a larger override, not just for new police and fire positions that were net new. We would have been having to ask for an override to fund current programs that are currently funded within the municipal side, as well as the elementary side. Secondarily, I think my concern on transparency for Masconomet on this is when asked numerous times, what would the $467,194 represent? We were basically told, I guess respectfully, we're not providing that information at this time. And, you know, again, the elementary school committee has been extremely transparent, and the elementary administration has been transparent of exactly what does that override represent. On Article 6, we've been, this board and the Finance Committee have been extremely transparent, as has the police chief and the fire chief, of exactly what that override represents, the $975,000. It's not just for 3 police officers and 4 firefighters, but also their benefits, their equipment, their training, their certification, and down to the penny what that dollar amount. $467,194 for Masconomet. What does that represent? I don't know. What I will tell you is, if the override, let's say for some reason the override didn't pass in either Middleton or Topsfield, where there is also an override for this, but not in Boxford, correct, right? No. Yes, in Boxford.
In Boxford, yeah.
So if 2 of the 3 towns do not pass this override, one of 2 things happens. Either Masconomet certifies their budget as what has been approved, or the budget gets brought back again. Or if they just approve it at the number that's been approved by the 3 town meetings, that's the budget that stands. And it makes me wonder if the $467,194 actually would have been able to be funded within their existing budget process. I truly wish they had been more transparent. For that reason, I'm going to support the position that several members of the Finance Committee did, and I'm not going to be supporting this override.
What would be the ramifications if Boxford and Topsfield voted yes and Middleton voted no? What would happen then?
It would be at the select board's discretion. More than likely, I would anticipate that you would call a special town meeting at some point over the summer, depending on whatever the Masco board ultimately certifies. If that vote fails, then we are obligated to pull it out of our town side budget. I don't anticipate the people of Middleton would allow that to happen, but I can't. I don't have a crystal ball.
Well, I mean, personally, I will vote for the Masco override, but as a select board member, I can't urge or recommend to voters that they vote for it unless, when we go into town meeting, we know that Topsfield has passed their override. And my voting for it as an individual, but not recommending that, others vote for it as a select board member, comes from my view as to, sort of my fiduciary duty. I'm more liberal in spending my money than I am in recommending people spend their money. And the large budget increase that was going to be at Masco from FY25 to FY26, that fact was known to the administration in September and October. They did not publicly communicate that to the school committee until December, and then did nothing to engage, in a thoughtful discussion as to how they could mitigate the large increase. It started off at about 10%. And therefore, the school committee had only about a 6-week period to try to come to lower that 10% increase, and it got it down to a little over 8%. The way that it was done, if they had started with this target of 43 million, where they ended up, if they had started with that in December, I think they would have allocated their money in different ways than they ended up approving. I watched the meetings where they debated, the budget, and they took their vote. And not even the school committee, all the school committee, they voted for the number, but they're not really sure that what they cut is really the best thing to cut, or what the ramifications of it were. And Matt Alexander pretty much said the same thing when he was here at a select board. So, given all of that, how can I, as a select board member, urge people to vote for it? I can't.
I'm going to vote for it because the administration, I think, failed everyone. Matt Alexander spoke to that. It needs a top-down revamp, but I don't think that the students should lose out because the administrators didn't do what we feel is the proper way to do budget season. I don't think that the students are the one that should pay for it, so I believe in education. My vote will be to recommend that this passes for the students, but also we have to take Matt Alexander's advice. We have to take, something needs to change.
Yeah, I'm in the same line of thinking. From what I've seen, an awful lot goes on to that school committee to come up with and make these decisions that, personally fall squarely on the administration. And to Costa's point, they had, every year, they have all the time that they have, and it's, every year it's a kind of an 11th hour kind of forcing the issue
Well,
at the end.
we saw that last year at town
But I
meeting
too
over
will
the
be in
override.
support.
We saw that same thing last year at town meeting over the override for the roof. It was dropped on the town and dropped on the 3 communities in a way of this has to be done right away. That's what the administration was telling their school committee. It can't be delayed. And here we are a year later.
I haven't heard that.
No, and there is no discussion of, now an application is now being submitted, which is exactly what we have said. So I appreciate your point, Jeff, of the students and the budget, but I also think we should be looking at how enrollment has changed at Masco over the last several years. I mean, Middleton alone over the last 5 years has seen more than a 33 or almost 34% decrease in the enrollment of Middleton students at Masconomet. And we're sitting and looking at an 8% plus increase in the budget this year. And again, we keep talking about Matt Alexander. He's right. There needs to be a right sizing of that budget. There needs to be a change in the budget process, and there needs to be an understanding that when you are asking for an 8% plus increase, which requires a municipality to do an override. We're not doing an override because we feel like we're doing an override. This override has been proposed because we have no choice unless we're willing to cut staff from the library, or cut staff from the police, or cut staff from the elementary, or cut staff from DPW, or cut staff from the fire department. Unless we're willing to do that, we have to ask for an override. And I'm saying no. And the reason why I'm saying no is I think bad decisions can't be rewarded with worse decisions.
So where does that leave us?
Well, somebody's got to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that the select board support, what is it, Article 7, is it?
Article
8.
8.
Article 8.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it so there can be a
I
vote.
can't second it. Okay, motion and a second. So, all those in favor of the select board recommending Article number 8?
Aye?
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
And I abstain,
Okay.
because, I mean, people can vote, and I'll happily tell people that as an individual, I'm voting for it.
So
they can-
You should vote because it would be 2 to 2 if you don't.
Still doesn't pass as a 2-2
So
vote.
no, okay.
Non-recommendation.
2 to 1.
It's irrelevant.
Okay.
Ties a no, yeah.
So, how about the charter review recommendations?
Oh, yeah.
It's Article 20.
I have no issue with any of them. I would have liked to seen some of them broken up individually, but because I have no issue with any of them individually, that I would move that we support it.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to support it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No.
And I'll also move to recommend Article 21, the floodplain
Zoning
zoning
bylaw.
bylaw.
Second that.
Okay, a motion and discussion? A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passed
And it
unanimously.
is our article, but I would also make a motion to publicly support Article 22, which is asking town meeting to give this board authority to dispose of 65 North Main Street, the current police station.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll abstain.
Okay, and one four, and one abstention.
And then Article 23, which is the conservation restriction for 105 South Main Street, which is the current location of the municipal complex.
So I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. No other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, passed unanimously. Okay. Ready to move on? Okay. Item number 12. The Council on Aging grant denial from the Mass DOT for community fiscal year 25 Community Transit Grant Program.
Well, before
Go ahead.
we move on the recommendations, I had, stated that, as a select board member, I would urge people to vote for it if Topsfield passed it, so can we post a short meeting and we vote on this issue, and because my vote might, change
Oh,
if
before
Topsfield.
the actual.
Sure thing.
So just, 5 minutes before
Yep.
town meeting.
We'll know that before our town
Yeah,
meeting?
We would know
their
that.
town
Yeah, we-
election is the previous
Yep.
Thursday.
Yeah.
That's
So they've done
We'll
both
all
town
know
meeting and
before.
town election prior to our
6th and
town
8th.
meeting?
Yeah,
Correct. We'll take care of that.
Foxfit's
Thank you,
is the
Bob.
same night as ours, correct?
and the same election day, so.
We're usually in communication with Boxford night of.
on
'cause
that
we're,
night, right,
knock on wood, historically a little bit faster than they are.
okay. All right, thank you, Cost, for that, before we move on. All right, so, item number 12, now, I don't know who wants to speak on this, that's, it's disappointing. It's a needed vehicle, and it was a $117,000 vehicle, of which we would have matched 17,000, so that's a big swing.
So this is why, Mr.
This
Chairman,
is
I asked the question
surprise.
on our Public Health Excellence Grant, because historically, the Council on Aging Grant Program that has been funded through the legislature has historically been based on population. It's been a formula that has been funded as such through the legislature, and local council on agings have submitted grant requests based on that formula of X dollars would be available to your community based on the population of those, I think it was 55 or maybe 60 and older, and services within your local council on aging. So the Commonwealth has chosen to add this grant program, which again, I think is more of a formula program, to their growing list of grants that will not be funded if you are not in compliance with the so-called MBTA zoning. While we were notified of this, I mean, the reality is not the budget that's going to start in July 1st of '25, but the budget that'll start in July 1st of '26, we're going to have to come up with probably 100% of the funding, which is going to be north of 120, probably by then, north of 130,000, for the purchase of a new van to support our seniors in town, for the many and myriad of services that our Council on Aging staff and volunteers, Rick being one of them, and John being another one, that have helped staff that van, from delivering meals to folks, to bringing folks to doctor's appointments, and shopping trips and other things, as well as the programs that are provided for recreational services for the Council on Aging. So I thought it was important to bring to this board this evening to express our dismay at that. Again, I look at this more of line item in the budget that has been based on population that each town has historically gotten. 8 years I represented Middleton in the legislature. 8 years Middleton got these dollars based on the requests that they had made and the dollars that the legislature was appropriating, which will be in this year's fiscal year budget for the Commonwealth that was just released by the House. So, not that it makes a difference, but I think it was important to talk about it tonight.
Did we get this, the current van that we have, was that purchased from this identical grant?
Yes.
Every vehicle that we have received through the Council on Aging, vans and otherwise, have been partially or mostly funded through this grant program, as has funding in the past recreational programs, food programs that the Council on Aging, and other services that the Council on Aging has provided have historically been funded. Now, not every year Middleton or another Council on Aging is asking for a van or a vehicle. Some years there's other services and other programs that are funded through this so-called grant.
Well, they said they had 250 requests and gave 115, so it's not a guarantee to get the grant.
Well, there are some towns that a Council on Aging is kind of in name only, but a town the size of Middleton, with the size of our Council on Aging programs, it's, I would say, almost always, if not, again, I go back to the 8 years I represented Middleton. Every one of those years, they received funding based on the request of what the then Council on Aging director made.
So when they were originally going to withhold funds from public safety due to pushback from towns, the legislature got the state to change that. I know you reached out to a legislative delegation to ask that they do the same for the elderly. Did you get any response?
I did. So I had conversations with Rep. Jones and Karen's separately, and I believe they're looking to file for about 75,000. Is a little bit of a long shot. It's not the full amount, but it would potentially take some of the hurt out of it. It's not unusual to get a no on a grant request, but one thing that struck me as odd, and kudos to Jillian, by the way, for her work on this. She put it in September, and also very well done on her part in following up, because sometimes you get a no. That happens, but it's important to follow up and ask, well, can we set up a time to meet in the future, which Jillian did, to talk about, what are ways we can improve this? It's important for the community. And the thing that was unusual is the response we got, which read, in so many words: "Hi, Jillian, grant awards under this program are conditioned upon the municipality being able to certify that it will comply with all applicable laws, including the Massachusetts general laws. We understand that the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities has determined Middleton to be out of compliance with GL Chapter 48, 3A, the MBTA Communities Act. We invite you to apply next year." That was the part that stuck out to me, especially because it wasn't in the denial letter. And so moving forward, the directive I'm going to have the department heads is, if we are denied for any source of funding, to follow up, because if they're not going to offer that that's the reason why, I'd like to know. And as we committed, unfortunately, when this failed the second time around, we'll continue to bring these forward as info. It's not as an effort to agitate people, to rub it in anybody's face, but I think it's important that we kind of keep a tally on these items.
Absolutely.
Particularly relative to the lawsuit, so that down the road, we have a compiled list of what, if we are successful, we have a compiled list of what the town missed out on.
What can you comment for the public? That is public record as the lawsuit. Do you have any comments you want to make of where that stands, just for the public? I mean, most of it's public record anyway.
Yeah, so there's nothing beyond what we've already offered on the website and social media. We don't have any updates at this time.
We're waiting for the judge's decision.
Still waiting.
Right, there's no...
The arguments have been made in court, and we're waiting for the
Correct.
decision.
It's... How frustrated is, when you think back to the recent, the special town meeting, the question come up about, well, what grants would we miss? And it was difficult to say beyond what, was made to us at the time, but I knew sure enough that list was going to grow. And so better get used to it.
This administration is going to continue to turn the screws,
Yeah.
and continue to add to that list. At the time was, no, it's only this grant, and this grant. Well, at the time, that's all the administration Governor Healy administration had proposed, but they keep moving the goalposts. And I had almost half jokingly stated at the time, at what point are they going to actually take away school building authority funds? I wouldn't joke about that anymore, because that's probably next on their list.
And you've
don't know.
got a governor who, when I've heard this, would rather litigate than lead, so let that.
So, I think you're right, Justin, we have to continue to call these out and tally it, not just for the case of the lawsuit, but at some point, the legislature in this administration or a future administration is going to look back and say, first of all, under the MBTA zoning piece, it's actually going to accomplish nothing. And they're already starting to prove. The argument we were making is that it was going to get approved, but nothing would be built there. For the communities that have approved, nothing's being built. The communities that things are being built, these are projects that were already in the works before the MBTA zoning even was enacted by the legislature. At some point, a future administration or a future legislature is going to look at this and say, well, this was a poorly designed, poorly written, and poorly implemented strategy. The Supreme Court basically stated that when they blew it up and made them rewrite the regs on this. And I think we have to continue to call it out, for the lawsuit basis, but to continue to make sure that our delegation and future delegations understand what a flawed law this was.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and you think looking at the vehicle, look where we're going to be moving into, and we're all in agreement that that's going to attract a lot more participation from our seniors in this
Yeah,
community,
if they're
based on the
from
thing,
out of
and
town.
to the point where it would be wonderful to pick them up, not just, to have them, take them for places from the location, but, so.
And we will have to pull the belt tighter and figure out how to backfill these dollars. A $130,000 van is not going to break the bank, but that means it's $130,000 that's not available for other programs that don't have grants for, that we've been historically funding. That's $130,000 that could go towards the new ladder truck, $130,000 that could go towards an ambulance or police cruisers or DPW equipment that we don't receive grants for, and that historically we have always received, and I'm going to do my air quotes, grants for at the Council on Aging, so.
Well, hopefully the legislators will put some pressure like they did on public safety and change it having to do with.
Well, we'll see if this administration cares about
that's taken
senior
away from the
citizens like
elderly.
they do police and fire.
Right. I would go from there, like, it was made, let's just careful saying that. We had all those brush fires, so appreciate the reach out,
Safety is
right?
looked
But
at
that wasn't,
differently.
they looked at that, oof, we just had all these brush fires, so that went. Not saying the effort by reaching out didn't help, but, and then now, like Justice said, this time, now it's
To take
affecting
it from
our
the,
seniors.
to take it from the seniors, that's just morally wrong.
Right. Anyway, thank you. I don't want to get frustrated.
More to come on that.
We have now a second executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we enter executive section pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 and 21A2, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, negotiation, and non-union personnel. And this is regarding fire department staffing.
Second.
Before we close, I'd just like to elaborate on the sign issue. I should have jumped on it with Rick, but he was getting right on that agenda. At the end of the day, it's just not okay. We're all missing signs, they're damaged, we all have that issue. But these signs cost the candidates money. And there is no reason why any sign should be destroyed, removed. Well, if they're in the wrong place, then they should be moved, but they should not be stolen, and they should not be vandalized. And I think the biggest part to me was the flags being thrown on the ground. That is just morally wrong. At the end of the day, let's keep things going in the Middleton fashion, the way I've always known it, and that is everyone looking out for everyone. We're gonna we're gonna have a candidates night, we're gonna have voting. Let's just let that happen, but peacefully. That's
Agreed.
all.
I mean, you're gonna lose your signs, but the damage to the big ones, that's just malicious intent. I mean, to me, it is a little bit different. And,
And the flags.
Flags,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
beside
I would
myself.
hope flags wouldn't be put out in a non-appropriate manner based on how an American flag is supposed to be treated in the first place. You know,
Yep, someone drives over it or something like that, yeah, there's that. But just, I don't know, just embarrassing. Oh, don't need that. So, we have a motion and a second. I'm sorry?
Take a vote.
Yep, we need a vote.
Mr. Chair, are you
Right.
returning to open session? That was not
No.
clear in the motion.
I will do that.
we will
Oh,
not,
I'm sorry, we're
my
not
motion
returning.
forgot to state that we
Before
would
you
not
hammer
be
the-
returning to open session.
Got to take a roll call, I think, before you.
Brian,
I'm
Yes.
screwed up, Jeff.
Costa,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yep.
and I am a yes.
Okay, so we're now entering executive session. We will not be returning to open session. Good night, everybody.